Hello everyone, my name is Braden, this is Airless Quill 9, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the final horror subclass that I haven't covered yet. This is the Undead Patron Warlock, so sorry it took a while to get through all these, but I'm releasing the rest of these on the same day, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. But yeah, this is the final subclass that I haven't covered. So take a look at the others if you haven't done so already. And if you want to let Wizards of the Coast know your thoughts on these particular subclasses, the survey, I believe, is still up on D&D Beyond. So check in on that to fill it out because I think it closes tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to take a look at the Undead Patron Warlock in today's video. So let's go ahead and get to it, and I'll let you know all my thoughts on the features that we have. So, the Warlock Undead Patron defied death for profane power. You've made a pact with a creature that defies the cycle of life and death, a powerful lich, vampire, or other entity of undeath. Having once been mortal themselves, his ancient patrons know firsthand the paths of ambition and the routes past the doors of death. They eagerly share this profane knowledge, along with other secrets, with those who work their will among the living. So this is the text for the Undead Patron, and it's pretty similar to what we got before. But yeah, let's go ahead and start looking at the features attached to this subclass. At level 3, we get Form of Dread. This says that as a bonus action, you transform into an avatar of your patron's dreadful power, gaining the benefits below for 1 minute, until you have the incapacitated condition, or until you end the form, no action required. You can transform a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Facsimile of Life, you gain temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your warlock level. And Frightful Avatar, you have immunity to the frightened condition. Additionally, once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can force it to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the target has the frightened condition until the end of your next turn. So this is fairly similar to what we got in the, I believe this came out in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. So there really aren't that many changes to what appeared there. There is one noticeable change though, and that is that the number of uses for this transformation now scales off of your charisma modifier rather than your proficiency bonus. This does guarantee you more uses starting off, but it will taper out at later levels because it won't go all the way to 6 potentially. Well, it could because of epic boons, but yeah, this now scales off your charisma day proficiency bonus, which is pretty typical to the changes that they've made in 2024. So not really have any comments about this. This is fine. And this is a pretty decent feature overall. So I quite like Form of Dread, and it's pretty flavorful for the subclass as a whole. So yeah, I quite like this particular feature. But we also get another feature at level 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one. At level 3, we get Undead Spells. These are spells that we will always have prepared as long as we are the required Warlock level. At level 3, we get Blindness, Deafness, False Life, Phantasmal Force, and Ray of Sickness. Phantasmal Force and Blindness, Deafness are particularly good. False Life is decent enough considering this scales pretty well now. They have increased the number of temporary hit points, but having the spell prepared is a little odd because you could pick up the invocation that has this and just use that instead. But I mean, this is still, False Life is still a pretty decent spell, especially if you need some additional protection. Ray of Sickness is also pretty decent as a damaging cantrip or cantrip spell. At level 5, we get Speak with Dead and Vampiric Touch. Both of these are pretty good. One is a nice, flavorful role-playing spell. Speak with Dead, and Vampiric Touch does decent enough damage, but with the added addition of some healing. At level 7, we get Death Ward, which is pretty great, and Phantasmal Killer. The damage on Phantasmal Killer is especially good in 2024. And then at level 9, we get Anti-Life Shell and Cloud Kill. Those very potent, very powerful spells. So quite like the spell list on this particular subclass. Some pretty decent options here and some pretty good roleplay options as well. So yeah, quite happy with this particular spell list. At level 6, we get Grave Touched. This has seen some noticeable changes. Your patron's power has a profound effect on your body and magic, granting you the following benefits. Arcane Necrosis. Whenever you cast a spell or hit a creature with an attack roll and deal necrotic damage, the damage dealt ignores resistance to necrotic damage. Additionally, once per turn, when you cast a spell that deals damage while using your form of dread, you can change that spell's damage type to necrotic. Now, what they've done here is beforehand, whenever you dealt damage with a spell that dealt necrotic damage, you could add on an additional die of damage. This was pretty potent, but they have removed this and have instead replaced it with the first part of Arcane Necrosis, in which the damage, when you deal necrotic damage, that damage ignores resistance to necrotic damage, which is a pretty decent feature considering how many creatures are resistant to necrotic damage. I feel like this is gonna be slept on by most people, but yeah, this is still pretty decent, even though you don't get additional damage from doing so. But you do have the option of changing your spells to necrotic damage, which could be its own benefit depending on what campaign you're playing this character in. So yeah, those are pretty good options there. But we also get Undead Endurance. This says that you don't gain exhaustion levels from dehydration, malnutrition, or suffocation. In addition, you don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. Both pretty nice ribbon features. Not crazy benefits there, but the sleep one is particularly good just for the sleep spell, and it's also nice for needing to keep watch. You won't have to take shifts considering you don't need to sleep, but you can still take a long rest while doing so. But yeah, that is the level 6 feature. At level 10, we get Necrotic Husk. This has some interesting changes to it, so let's go ahead and talk about them. So your connection to undeath now saturates your body. You gain the following benefits. Necrotic Resilience. You have resistance to necrotic damage. While using your form of dread, you have immunity to necrotic damage. This is a very nice feature, especially the immunity option whenever you're using your form of dread. I've always loved that particular line for this particular feature, so glad that they kept that in there. But we also get Unholy Resuscitation. If you drop to 0 hit points and don't die outright, you can cause your body to erupt with deathly energy. Each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from you makes a Constitution saving throw against their spell save DC, taking necrotic damage equal to 2d10 plus your Warlock level on a failure, or half as much damage on a success. Your hit points then change to 10 times your Charisma modifier, minimum of 10 hit points, and you gain 1 exhaustion level. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So there are some very potent upgrades to Unholy Resuscitation. First off is the amount of hit points that you have once you use this feature. Beforehand, you just went back to 1, I believe. Now you're going to go back up to an amount equal to 10 times your Charisma modifier, which could be up to 50 depending on what score you have at level 10, which should be pretty close to that, if not 18. And then the most potent change, I think, here is the regain that you have attached to this. Beforehand, you could only use this once per 1d4 long rests. So now you can use this every short or long rest, which is a definitive improvement on this feature and something that I would probably use at least every long rest if I were to fall to 0 hit points. The best part of this feature as well is the fact that you well, the only downside of this feature, rather, is that it affects every creature in a 30-foot emanation originating from you. So your allies might need to keep a fairly decent berth from you if you're about to drop to 0 hit points. But still, this is a pretty great feature. I think the only downside is that it affects every creature within that emanation and not just creatures of your choice. But I mean, the hit point regain on this and the amount of times that you can use it have been greatly improved. So I think this is a fairly great feature. And the damage is pretty decent as well. 2d10 plus your Warlock level could be some pretty decent damage. All right, last off at level 14, we get Superior Dread. This is an entirely new feature. So your form of dread improves, granting you the following benefits while you are using it. So that is important there. The first of these benefits is flight. You have a fly speed equal to your speed and can hover. Profane casting. Whenever you cast a warlock spell from the Conjuration or Necromancy school, you cast it without any verbal, somatic, or material components, except material components that are consumed by the spell or that have a cost specified in the spell. That is particularly potent because that means that the spell can't be counterspelled, which is very nice. And it also potentially won't be well, you're not going to have your form of dread active in roleplay scenarios, probably, but this would have had the potential of you being able to cast a spell without it being perceptible. But, I mean, overall, profane casting is just very good because it makes you have the ability to cast a spell that can't be counterspelled. So I think that is really nice. But then we also get Vitality Siphon, which says once per turn when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, which, let's be honest, should be every turn, you regain hit points equal to your charisma modifier. Now, that isn't a crazy amount of hit point regain, but this does not have any other restrictions on it other than it is once per turn. So this is a pretty powerful hit point regain option available. So yeah, this is a very nice benefit, and I think it's like leaps and bounds better than the spirit projection feature that we got before because it was completely separate from Form of Dread. Now that this works with Form of Dread, I think it's a lot better than it was before, and pretty potent, especially during combat scenarios. This is going to be pretty useful to you, especially the flight. The flight is going to be very nice at this level. So overall, I do think they made some definitive improvements to the Undead Patron. I think a lot of people are going to sleep on the changes that they made to this subclass, and I don't think everyone's going to love what they did here, but I do, and I think they made some pretty definitive improvements. If I had anything that I wish they would add on to this, it would be the ability to choose what creatures were damaged with Unholy Resuscitation. But, I mean, considering the damage is decent and the benefits of that particular feature, I'm not sure they would do that, but that is something that I would be interested in seeing. But, yeah, I mean, I hope everyone else enjoyed this particular subclass. I did, so let me know in the comments if you did enjoy the changes to this, or if you disliked them, and let me know what you dislike, because I like reading your guys' comments. But yeah, that's going to be it for this particular video, so thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We will be going over every Unearthed Arcana that Wizards of the Coast drops, because I like reading them and like telling you guys my thoughts about them, so keep an eye out for those whenever they do come, because they are pretty sporadic in releasing. So we will be continuing with our regular content on this channel, so keep an eye out for those videos. But until the next one, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Catch you later.